Welcome, everybody, to the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast. I'm Nicole Greer, and they call me the Vibrant Coach. And today I have an amazing guest on the show. Let me tell you about Luca Romano. Luca Romano is a seasoned business coach and executive leader with over 2 decades of experience in manufacturing operations and leadership. Originally from Italy, Luca earned a master's in engineering management from the University of Bologna and later an MBA in executive leadership. His career spans roles from plant manager to vice president of operations for global organizations, where he's learned firsthand the challenges of high pressure environments. After experiencing professional burnout and overcoming life-changing spinal cord injury, Luca discovered the transformative power of mindfulness, resilience, and authentic leadership. And I've been witness to all of those things. So today, he combines his engineering mindset, don't miss that, his business expertise, and his yoga practice to help HR professionals, rising talent, and senior executives lead with confidence, clarity, and balance. His mission is simple: to guide others from stress and scarcity towards peace, purpose, and sustainable success. Welcome to the show, Luca. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, Nicole. Thanks for the great introduction. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, here's the deal. Luca and I have hung out together and we have talked about leadership. We get in a room for maybe even like a whole day, and then we still hang around, talk for another 45 minutes about leadership. We just love it. We can't get enough of it. And I will tell you that I have seen Luca personally build people around him, and I've heard stories of what a great leader he is. So I'm so glad to have him on the show. So let's start with the big picture, Luca. When you think about building a vibrant culture, what does that phrase mean to you and to your organization?
So, the first thing that comes to mind when you say vibrant culture, I think about a place where people is as happy to come to work, where is excited to come to work, or at the very least, they don't dread about coming to work. So many
Right.
places, people hate to go to work. They feel that they have to provide for their families or whatever needs they have to be at work, but it doesn't really fulfill them. When I think about a vibrant culture, I think two dimensions, if you would, that define a vibrant culture. The vibrant part to me, when I'm an engineer, like you introduced me, so vibration to me equals energy. So a place that is vibrant is a place where there's positive energy, where energy is spent to do good work, not spent to worry about your team member that is not performing, not worrying about can I get fired today because I don't really know the rules of this game. That's negative energy that I spent a lot of time running around in my head, and I realized that it drains a lot of the good energy that can lead to good results and positive work environment.
Yeah,
The other
absolutely.
aspect that is in the vibrant culture is the culture part, which culture, if you think about it, is an expression of us as human beings, as person, as what our values are, what our traditions, our language. And so to me, culture really puts people at the center. So when I think about a vibrant culture, is a place where the person is at the center of anything we do, and the energy that we generate is generated toward progress of the team or the individual as a person, and to ultimately achieve results. So that's what I think about when I say vibrant culture. It's a place where the core values are shared among the people that come to work every day, where communication is made to build, not to tear down, where there's intentional opportunities for people to develop personally, professionally, to really achieve their goals and the dream. When challenging work is assigned so that I can prove to myself and to my team member that I can do something maybe that I didn't think it was possible, either alone or before my leader or the people around me found the courage to give me that and the trust that I will deliver. So these are all things that to me create a vibrant culture in an organization.
Yeah, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's like about the energy, right? So the leader walks in and puts off a vibe, and other people pick it up. And so we're either lifting people or we're kind of pushing them down. And I will tell you, Luca's the kind of leader that is lifting and getting everybody lit from within. We have worked together at HIDAC in Denver, North Carolina, and I just had the privilege of working with you and a lot of your folks that work for you. And we've worked with the Vibrant Culture Frameworks. And so one of them is SHINE. And so just
Yeah.
let me tell you all that are listening, that stands for self assessment, habit work, integrity work, next right step work, and energy work. And so we've done that. We've put the tilt in place over there, as well as the four elements of success. And then we've worked with traction in the operating system. So what's the biggest impact any of that work has had on you, and how are you going to maybe take that forward? Because I know that you are going to go out and be coaching and working with people.
I think you touched on all the three elements that you will help us work on. Like I said, I came to this organization from previous years, and on my personal journey, I have to say that the Shine model, of course, it wasn't formalized in the way you brought structure to it, but I really it's two of my main pillars of what my philosophy in running a business or making a team better are your first and last letter. So the first shine stands for self-assessment. I truly believe that that's the start of any transformation, whether it's a team, whether it's a person. You have to know where you stand. You have to really
100%.
do the work on what are your triggers, what is that make you the best version of yourself, and what gets in the way. Because like you mentioned earlier, every time we walk in a room we bring energy with us. If that energy is nervous, coming from fear, coming from feeling not adequate to the task, feeling the energy that we bring, it becomes contagious and it becomes a negative energy. While if you've done a lot of work on yourself to understand when are you at your best, what is that can throw you off your balance, you put yourself in a much better position to really listen to the ones around you and really try to understand how you can help them and how you can change dynamics. For that, I think that's when you came in with Tilt, which to me was really a very easy way to define what are the behaviors that we expect,
That's
what are the
right.
norms that regulate our organization, what is something that we accept and cultivate and work toward versus what doesn't serve us, right? For each trait, there is the desirable one, and for each one of those desirable traits, there's also an overuse trait or vice, you define it sometimes,
Yeah.
or an underuse. And so I'll bring you an example. For example, being driven can lead very easily to aggressiveness if it's a trait that is overused,
Right.
while if it's underused, it can lead to complacency. So being able to address an employee that might be so driven that it becomes bruising for the people around them, it's easy to use a tilt model because you can clearly define what it means being driven, what it means being aggressive, and what it means being complacent. So that has been a really huge tool that you put in our toolbox. The other one that I really very attracted to is the E of the shine, which is the
Yeah.
energy component. I
Yeah.
mentioned earlier. I really think a lot about energy and how our mental energy, what is it spent on. And when I spend it worrying about somebody not doing their job or worrying about how am I going to politic around this issue because I don't have the courage to communicate, or if I have to communicate with one of my peers, maybe they're too aggressive for me, for example, right? So that energy gets spent in ways that are wasteful. And so those are the two parts, shine and tilt, that I really, they come together beautifully for me in your model, and they speak to the heart, right? These are things that speak to the heart of a person.
Yeah.
The EOS is actually, I have to say, that really speaks to my engineering
That's
part of
right.
my
Gives
brain
you a
because they bring,
system.
it's a system, right?
Yeah.
And I work with systems my whole career, but I never found one as powerful as EOS simply because I found it very simple and very applicable to many industries. We've done work together. We follow EOS for the last probably 12 months at this point. We had great results in managing our teams and managing our organization. But I found myself recommending Traction as a book and talking about EOS. When I went on vacation in Jamaica, for example, I met the owner of a travel agency, a guy that is a tour operator there. And I found myself promoting EOS with him because he was trying to grow his business and he was trying to figure out how can I have my employee know what I know? How can I share my vision, right? And so that was his challenge. And to me, it became so easy to present to him the framework of EOS because that's applicable to a manufacturing business like we apply day in, day out, as well as somebody that does tours. So
Yeah.
I think those three tools that you brought in, they're a beautiful package together because
Yeah.
they complement each other and they build on each other.
Yeah, and so don't miss what he said, Nicole. You brought them in, but here's the thing, right? Is you need a leader on the other side who's going to actually apply these things. And just listen to what Luca's saying. He's like, I love Tilt because I got to see, okay, here's the beautiful trait. Here's what it looks like when it's overused. Here's what it's like when it's underused. And for a leader to actually go through the training and apply it, that's where the rubber meets the road. So you are Class A leader over there and have done great things. I'm just real proud of all that. Now, Lucas says energy is really important to him, and you talked in your bio about how this engineer in manufacturing who is a business coach and has been a yoga instructor. So let's talk about energy for just a second. I'm going to take us off our list of questions for just a
Yeah.
minute because I think this is huge. Because let me tell you, everybody, there are 6 energies inside of us. There's intellectual energy, there's emotional energy, there's spiritual energy, physical energy, social energy, and the energy of money. And employees need help with all 6 energies. So tell us a little bit, real quickly, about how you went down the yoga path and how that helps you in your leadership. Because both both Luca and I are certified yoga instructors, and we
So
love it.
yes, we do. I do. And yoga for me, this is a journey that I currently am on and I've been on for the last 10 years. What gave me what is this is being able to be in my center, being able to really understand my value, to really dig a little bit deeper into myself. We'll have maybe opportunities to dive a little bit deeper during this podcast, but for example, one of my traits is I tend to be a people pleaser, right? So I tend to do things that please you, even if sometimes at the detriment of my own
Oh, that's huge.
thoughts or my own beliefs. And so without spoiling maybe the future, but applying that type of thinking, I got fired from my previous job, which was a great thing. But it ended up being because instead of doing what I felt was the right thing to do, I was doing the things that my boss wanted me to do. And I didn't find the courage to really say, to object or give my opinion because I was afraid of disappointing, right? I was wanting to please, and I felt that maybe he knew better than I did, right?
Oh, don't miss
And
that,
that
everybody.
and that through yoga, I realized that those were all stories that I was telling myself to stay in my comfort zone. It was more comfortable for me to maybe say yes and resent than say no and have the courage of my conviction. And ultimately, I gave up results because I wasn't doing from my heart. I was doing things because I was told to do them, and they weren't coming out as good as if they were from my own heart. And many times they weren't simply just the right call because I had much more close presence to the problem than maybe my boss had, and yet I went his way instead of my way for fear of disappointing. I
Yeah,
learned that that's energy that is not spent the right way. I learned
that's
that
right.
when I invest that energy in being confident in my position, not arrogant, I always listen, I always bounce off
Oh,
ideas,
yeah,
but
I can attest to that too.
ultimately, I really learned that it's much better to fail on my own than failing with somebody else's idea. So that to me is what yoga brought me was this being able to find my center, being able to find my clarity, regardless of what I think others expect of me. And I have to say, because I learned that through my previous job, the separation from my previous employer, when I came to Hideck in this new role, I had to learn that lesson. And I approached this new team and this new job in a completely different way, which paid off big time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and positioning you for even greater things. That's so good. Yeah, so I didn't want to miss that. And if you've never done yoga before, you think it's some kind of weird woo-woo thing. You get on a map and twist yourself up like a pretzel or something. The truth of the matter is yoga, it means to unite. That's what the actual word means, and which just is like bringing it all together. And notice how Luca's talking about he's more whole because he's not being a people pleaser anymore, right? He's got that courage and he's doing things in a very cool way. All right,
Yes.
so everybody get on the yoga mat this week. I double dog dare you. All right, okay, and double dog, downward dog dare you. How about that? All right. Our next question for you is, transformation is huge. Leaders need to be working on themselves constantly. They need to be working on their team members constantly. They need to be working on the strategy, the organization, the department they're in charge of. What's one visible change you've noticed in your team or organization since we kind of started working together? How have you transformed? How can leaders transform?
So I think I joined a team that was driven by very aggressive personalities, I have to say, which
Yep.
from a certain from
I
a
would agree.
so for certain aspects of running a business, aggressive personalities are needed, right? If you want your hunters, the ones that go look for business for you, maybe to be
Well, you got to have
driven,
business, right?
you have to have business, right? So you have to have people that finds the reward in bringing the prey home. But that aggressiveness was pervasive in our
Yeah.
organization. So what that had created it was that communication, people were shying away from communicating with each other because there was a good chance that either you were blamed for something or there was something that you were criticizing for. So what that created even more the silos that are generally present in industry between different departments, between, I don't know, engineering versus manufacturing versus sales versus quality. And so the end result is that people wasn't not communicating. So to me, again, with the shine, the tilt, the C3, and the structure that EOS brought, that difficulty, those behaviors were immediately pointed out because now we had the language to discuss, right? We had the structure through a C3 state what the issue was, what how it made us feel, and the consequence of that, using the vocabulary that Tilt gave us. So we were able to assess what behaviors we were wanting, which ones were foreign to us. We were able to define our core values so that we all align behind those behaviors, those traits that we want to share and we want to exhibit. And
Yeah.
so through that structure that you brought and the language, the vocabulary that you gave us, like I said, the tilt, the shine, we were able to really turn the ship around and address those behaviors that weren't conducive to growth. And again, they were taking that mental energy. We were spending days just to figure out how to tell a colleague that what he was doing wasn't conducive to our business, right? Instead of just communicating and move along. So
Right.
that's been a big visible change that I noticed. The way we communicate became much more respectful, much more conducive to the business that we were doing. And I think that's probably what is exemplified in the 5 phases of a team: the forming, the norming, the storming. Particularly injecting myself in the leadership team 2 years ago was a big change for the organization. So that created a new forming stage where those behaviors that maybe before were not commonplace weren't working for me, for example, personally. So that created some storming, some confrontation with my teammates to really offer a different way of communicating, just to lead by example, to show that you don't have to be aggressive to achieve results, right? So that
That's
then we
exactly
created
right.
these new norms that now we're following. And just, at the end of the day, we are in business to make money, to perform. Just to give you a few numbers, I took over this factory with a 51% on time delivery. We're closing this year, less than 2 years after, at 91%.
Oh my gosh, congrats, Luca. That's
So
epic.
that was so much fuel for my team and for my organization to show that when we change the way we do business, we change the results. And everybody wants to win. And so everybody jump on board to continue to do that and more because they see that now they went from being a team that was the worst division in the company to this year we want the best division
Number
award.
one.
Yeah. So So that makes my job much easier, because at this point I don't have to push an agenda. I just have to show them that if we work in the way that I know works, if we treat people with respect, if we communicate formally and clearly, we can succeed as a team. And like I said, it's a great energy that is going around now, because now everybody's wants to continue to do that.
Yeah, and what I want to just kind of add on to that is the folks at Luca's place at Hydac in Denver, North Carolina, it takes leaders who are willing to invest in putting their people in a room 10 times for 4 hours each time,
Yes.
because the communication cannot improve if you don't put people in a different kind of space doing a different activity besides making, the donuts, right?
Yes.
And so, Luca, don't miss this. He's running the entire manufacturing floor, and he's figuring out how to run that entire manufacturing floor and letting key people go up to the training room and hang out for 4 hours at a time. So his quality guys are off the floor and they're doing this work. And so, what would you say to leaders about allowing people time? Because that's one of the biggest things I get is we don't really have time for you to train them. So can you do all this in 1 hour? And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You got to like spend time together. So what would you say about that? Because you really pulled a rabbit out of the hat every time you sent 20 of your people up into the room with me.
I just do it. I just learn in all these years. I see the difference in doing it and not doing it. So
Right.
yes, I might save 4 hours today from doing training because I want to ship an order. The day I ship that order, tomorrow I have the same issue that I had today.
Right.
Instead, if I invest those 4 hours and do the training, yes, I might miss the order today, but I guarantee you that from tomorrow, every order will be on time because we figured out what the problem was.
Yeah.
It takes a leap of faith. It really does. We all, as an intuition, understand that if you don't train your people, they will not perform, right? But we don't find the courage to do that. We live in scarcity. We
Yes,
lead
yes,
from
yes.
fear, and that doesn't produce the results that leading from a place of loving your teammate. If I
Right, right,
spend
right.
4 hours investing in you to get better, it's yes, I improve my team, but I improve you as an individual. That improvement you will take forever with you. So I think that those are investments that are absolutely necessary. I hear a lot of time leaders also, well, I won't train my welder into this certification because then they can be certified and can go and work somewhere else.
Which is crazy talk,
It
everybody.
is because my job is, and it's one of the things that after we've been doing all this work together, me and you, I have to say I have not lost one employee in my team that wasn't coached out, and that to
Right.
me is massive because if I focus on that, I don't have to worry about how much I train you. I don't have to worry about you will go and taking that training somewhere else because you will not leave because I will give you the best place you can work at. And that's, I think, what should be in the forefront of a leaders like myself is, are we creating the environment where our team is able to thrive and doesn't want to leave because we give them meaningful work, we train and we care for them, we listen to them. A lot of people focuses on money. Money, yes, has to be there, but I never found it a way to motivate people, to keep people engaged, right? I keep people engaged, seeing them, listening to them, giving them the opportunity to do what their dream is. Somebody might not be wanting to do the job they are today. Do I take the time to listen what they want to do tomorrow? Maybe find a way for them to achieve that dream and that result. So that's what I worry about. I don't worry about the 4 hours spent in training. Those are a way that I keep you with me at performing at your best, and we all benefit.
Yeah, yeah. And in that training room, because we went through, I think, 2 cycles of everybody to make sure everybody got through. And I always kid about this, but there's always like 3 types of people in training. Because the other thing that pops up is people say, Well, I'm not sure my people want to go to training. You don't ask them if they want to go. You tell them that you're giving them a gift, you know. And we know because both Luca and I do training and coaching is that you're going to have one person that comes they're like, "Oh my God, there's training today. Yay." And we call those people lifelong learners and Luca and Nicole Greer are lifelong learners for sure. And then there's the second kind of person who's on vacation. They're like, "Is there going to be lunch?" If we finish early, can we go home? You know, like they're just excited they don't have to do their regular job. And plus, people need a break from their regular job. I mean, they need a day to step apart to come back to it fresh. And then there's the third set of people. And I won't mention any names, but a couple of guys that work on your team, you sent them up to me and they got their arms crossed and they're like, you know, what the heck are we doing here and that kind of thing. But, you know, sometimes people just have an image in their mind what it's going to be like, and then they actually end up laughing and having a good time and talking to their neighbor and
Yeah.
getting to know their coworkers, and they're like, "Oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be at all." So, you know, sometimes you have to be a leader like Luca and put people in a position that they're uncomfortable in.
Yeah, and also when you do that, you also see this is what I was saying, mentioning before, right? Sorry, mentioning earlier.
Hmm.
If you give somebody something that is challenging for them, you do two things. I think one thing, you observe them and see, are they stepping up to the challenge? Are they able to do this thing that I think they're able to do? So do they believe in themselves enough to do it? But also you understand if they don't, if at the end of the training, their posture is still this one and maybe they're on their phone, I also know as a leader that that's not the person that will
That's exactly
invest,
right.
that can lead my next generation of leaders, because he's not or she's not interested in it. Not everybody has to
That's exactly right.
be a leader, right? So let's just give an opportunity to everybody, observe the ones that take advantage of that opportunity and develop those. And for the other ones, if they can still contribute to the team, even not leading, great. You know, there's no need to coach them out. But if then there's also behaviors that not only you don't want to listen to training, but also now you don't honor our core values, you don't behave the way we expect you to behave, then maybe those are more data points that can give us a hint that maybe that person will be happier in a different position in a different organization.
That's right. That's right. So you've probably heard Luca say a couple times, coach them out. So I want to just explain that real quick. So, you know, my leadership philosophy is if you work here, you're going to contribute to these results we've outlined in our vision, and we're on a mission to do a certain thing, right? And so we have a mission statement, which is how we be on the way to where we're going, the vision. And then we have core values, which, you know, Luca and Michael and all of us got in the room for a day, right? And we threw spaghetti on the wall. What are our core values? And you guys worked on it, brought it back to the group, you know. But if people don't want to be part of that, you don't want to allow it to go on. So
Yeah.
you
Yes.
coach them in, hopefully, change their mind, bring them to your side, or they figure out, you know, this isn't for me, and you let them go. So coaching in and coaching out is a big part of building a vibrant culture.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
And I think, you know, or maybe I can share a story about
Yes,
this.
please, please. Yeah, an
This,
example of walking the talk.
yeah, an
Yeah.
example of how we walk the talk, right, on this topic. So, you know, there's no need to make names, but there was one of my direct reports that also Nicole, you personally coached, that he was new to the managing a team of other engineers, right? Some were his age, some of them much considerably older,
Yeah,
and
which
he
is a
found
tough
himself in
thing for
this.
young people, right? To coach
It
older
is.
folks, right?
It is.
And
It is. I still remember my
doing it
first
yourself. That's right.
older, older, older colleague that I had to do a constructive criticism with. It was really heavy on my heart. So I definitely shared the feeling that this report in Heideck had when I started bringing up my observation of one of his reports not performing the way that I was expecting, right? So that created a lot of stress in this new manager, because on one hand he had his boss, me, just trying to show him that his report wasn't living up to our expectations, right?
That's
But in
right.
order for me to do that, I had to make it. This is a journey he had to do, because I already done mine in my years, right? This is a learning opportunity for him. So what I did, I use your seat. Well, first of all, we we define our core values, right? So one of the core values, for example, was owning your work. So you have to own your work. You can't just do half of it and then expecting that somebody else by magic picks up the other half, right?
Right.
So once we define this core value, then I was able to give my report a framework of this is a behavior that we encourage and expect. This is a behavior we don't want to foster, we don't want to cultivate, we actually want to correct, right? So that was the first framework that he was able to start connecting the behavior of his report to traits that we wanted or not wanted to have. So that already creates some clarity for him to find what the misalignments were. When we introduced the C3 format, we gave him a structured way to address that. So it wasn't anymore emotional. It wasn't anymore a young person addressing an older person, a person with 10 years experience addressing somebody with 30 years of experience. It was, this is what I see you doing. This is the behavior you didn't meet our standard, and this is the consequence. So that made it became mechanical almost, which
Yeah.
might sound not really applicable to a person, to a
But it
conversation
is
between
a
two people.
system to keep you safe, right? While you're giving feedback. It's like, I did it exactly like this, and I know I did it exactly like this. So it keeps you safe.
I love you put in this safety because that
Yes.
creates a safe space for my direct report to address something that was extremely uncomfortable for him.
That's right.
And all it took was that for this person to also understand that the company that he joined maybe 15 years ago wasn't the company that
Oh,
we
don't
are
miss that.
today,
Don't miss
and
that,
his
everybody.
place wasn't there anymore. So he quit. He just left. And as a consequence, my manager, my direct report, learn how to address the difficult employee. And the best part of it all is that removing this employee that wasn't performing allowed him to hire somebody that now was really aligned with our values because he used those values to interview the new
Don't
person. He
miss
used those
that.
values to make sure that the new person was a good fit for what we needed. And sure enough, he hired a person that now is performing
Right. And it's a joy to
beautifully.
work with this person.
Yes.
Yes. Instead of
Yes.
a pain in the rear end. Yes.
Yes. Instead of sucking this person mental energy every morning coming to work to see how am I going to deal with this employee that is not doing what I'm expecting.
That's right.
Think how much energy you waste in your brain to do that rather than being able to use your drive to work to figure out how can I be of best service for my team today? What can I do to move this project forward today? What can I do to explain the vision rather than how am I going to deal with this person that I don't want to talk to, right?
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
can only think one thought at a time, although we think millions of thoughts, not millions, but thousands of thoughts every
We
day.
do. We do.
If you're stuck in repeat on negative energy, your thoughts will always going to be focused on that area instead of building. They'll be focused on something that doesn't create anything. It just stresses you out and
Right.
you
It
just
creates a
don't.
swirl and
Yes.
darkness instead of
Yes.
vibrancy, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And and so that's a great example, like just to put that everything together. Like that was a coach 'em in or coach 'em out. Like, you are doing this. Here's exactly
Yes.
when you did it the last time, and it has consequences. And so you need to stop doing this. And the
Yes.
person's like, forget it. I'm out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Later.
Yeah.
Catch
Yeah.
you later. And
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's happier.
yeah, oh my gosh, everybody's like doing a dance because this bad person inside of your company who's creating a little dark spot instead of a vibrant spot is gone. Yeah, oh, that's so good. Uh,
That's another thing. For example, that's something else that I learned. It took me many, many years to understand that sometimes when you part ways with somebody,
yeah.
actually it's a gift
Oh,
for
100%.
not only for yourself, but for the other person, because a lot of times they also realize what they didn't like. They were dreading coming to work also. So
Right.
you maybe give an opportunity to find something that is more fulfilling for them as well.
That's right. And it needs to be like a 50, well, actually, it's 100%, 100%. So let me talk about that real quick. I almost said it was 50-50 and I corrected myself. Okay, so y'all, I learned this from Pam Boney, who is the lady that invented Tilt. She said, in the work relationship, the manager and the employee, they both have to bring 100% of themselves. It's not like if you do your 50%, 50-50. No, the leader, I'm going to give you feedback. I'm going to give you encouragement. I'm going to send you to training. I'm going to get my own act together. You got to get your own act together. You got to go to the training. So it's 100. And so this person was not bringing 100. That is for sure. And our guy was bringing 100, or at least was trying to bring 100. So
Yes.
that's really important. All right, so you guys did a lot of changing using EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system, which I help people get installed in their businesses, Traction. But you had a few little pockets of resistance, where people are like, I'm not sure, I don't know. So every
Mhm.
leader faces resistance to change. What challenges did you encounter when you guys began to shift things?
So that could be many story. I'll just tell you one that it was to
Okay.
me was it was for it's interesting, I guess, because it was more for the whole group of workers on the floor rather than one individual
Okay.
resisting change, right? So when I joined this company, they were not in the habit of shifting labor based on where the workload was. So if you have a job that your job is to drill this hole in this plate every day, all you do, well, all they used to do is I come in to drill that hole in that plate. If today there's no plate to drill, I'll just wait. If tomorrow there's 3 times as many plates that I can drill in a day, it'll take me 3 times as long to do it, right?
Right.
There was not cross training, moving people around was not something that was in the DNA of the company. And to me, it was strikingly a problem, right? I come
Right.
from
You're like, wait,
my
what's going on
philosophy.
here?
Yes, yes. And so, and so the first thing I did was I said we need to shift people around. If today this department is busier than that department, move these people from department B to department A so that we can get the job done. And then tomorrow maybe we do vice versa. That created a lot of resistance
I'm
because,
sure.
well, the because I didn't know. The reason why I didn't know. And so the first thing I did was I called for a plant-wide meeting. So I start to tell the manager and supervisor, okay, I want this group to shift from here to there. And the feedback was always negative. No, they don't want to do it. They don't feel comfortable. So I said, okay, we need to address this. So I call a plant-wide meeting with myself, first person there, and says, okay, let's address this. What problem is? And like I started at the beginning, that to me there's always a heart problem and a mind problem. Or I try to address the heart and I try to address the mind
Oh,
when
don't
I
miss this,
realize that
everybody.
the problems, they're generally in those two areas, or
Yes.
part on one and part on the other, maybe some more skew on one side or the other, but they're generally in both aspects. So for the heart, I try to understand what was the problem. So for example, some problems they were bringing up is, okay, I know the risks in my area. When you send me to a different area, I feel uncomfortable because I don't know what safety risks I might have. I say, okay, I need to do training on safety, right? Because it's a good point.
Yeah.
These people is uncomfortable shifting because I didn't think about the fact that they might not feel comfortable working over there. So I address that, create a training program to say, okay, if I send you to Department B, I'll train you first of all on the safety risks that you have in Department B. Then I don't want to go work for the leaders of Department B because I like my leader in Department A. Okay, why are two leaders seen so differently? Why is one behavior, why do they so against this other leader that I'm sending them to? So that made me point the light to, do I have a common training for my leads? Do,
That's
do
right.
they all
That's right.
treat their employee the same way? Do they all share the same values? So then I introduced the lead training that, I put together this
Yes.
training
Beautiful.
program for my group to make sure that everybody was on the same page, everybody was treating the employee in the same way. And then I addressed that aspect, right? And then I call him back and says, okay, you will be doing training, safety training before you go. I addressed with the manager, so we cross train the leads as well, so that he can get best practices from each other. And then I addressed the mind part to explain them where I was coming from, right? So to explain them, if I have Department A is overworked and Department B is downstream for that. If A doesn't produce enough, then B waits. Let's go to A so they can all do double work in A and then go double work in B. So I give them a little bit the engineer explanation, if you
So
will.
good.
And so I also explained that from my standpoint, when you can do more multiple jobs, you have more job security if the market was to slow down. And so I try to address the fears that they had rationally and emotionally to this shift. And I created a system that I could track. So then again, I go back more to the mind side. I created a tracking system to show for each employee how many hours of cross training they were doing in each of the other departments, so that then you can also celebrate, hey, Mary is now able to do 10 jobs, she used to only be able to do 3, so that then you give recognition to the person, you help build their confidence, and at the end we end up with better results because I can flow the process better when I can move people, but they also feel more satisfied, and because they understand more jobs, they understand the safety risks in different areas,
And they've
and
got to be
like,
not as bored.
yes, like, in fact, I was going there. You mentioned it earlier. If your days changes from time to time, you don't have to drill that plate
Oh
every
my
day,
gosh.
right? It makes it a little bit more. The day goes by a little bit faster. So
100%.
now, basically, a year into that, that's the norm. There's no more. I don't even have to talk about that. That happens
That's
automatically.
right. That's right. You got to institutionalize. That's so good.
Yeah.
All right. So let's shine the spotlight on leadership growth. How has your own leadership style evolved along the way here? Because they gave me the top leadership team, and then we worked our way to the team leads, right? So everybody got the same message. Everybody got the same training. Everybody was on the
Yes.
same page, which doesn't usually happen. Usually they bring me like in the middle and I coach down, and then the people up here do not do what we're doing down here. So it's a big disconnect. So, how did you evolve through the process personally?
First of all, I've done what you just described in my previous jobs and realized it didn't work, right?
Right,
So
right.
the senior VP saying, "Hey, you guys have to do all this training, but I don't attend."
Right,
So
it's
I don't even
crazy.
know I don't even know what you guys talked about,
Yeah,
and then I
don't you want to
expect
know what we're talking about? Oh my
it
God.
doesn't work. It doesn't work. I mean, but that's so common, Nicole, because I think that's then you miss the first S of shine, right? The self-assessment, the self-reflection.
Right.
I started this podcast saying that to me is foundational. You have to know what you do good, what you do bad. You have to start on yourself to grow and to be the best leader you can. If you
That's right.
don't, you'll never, your organization will see it through. They will see through that you send them to training, you don't show up. They will see through that they get trained on something that you don't know what it is. So then everything falls apart, right? Already as leaders, we are always in the spotlight. People always looks what we do, what we say, how we behave, how we act. And if we give excuses or reasons for people not to follow what we want them to do, they won't do it. And so I think what the big difference maybe with us, and you found in me fertile ground for this type of leadership because I also truly, truly believe in it. And so I was fortunate enough to have a position in the company that allowed me to have influence. And so to be able
Yes.
to really shore up your work and leverage your work, because you're right. When I joined the company, everybody, at least on paper, had the same values. All I had to do was to put them back in front of them and say, hey, we agree that you don't yell, right? How come you
Right.
yell? So that's to me what made the power of the change that me and you brought
Yeah.
to this organization is we think alike a lot. And so I really found you done the groundwork for me. All I had to do was just pick it up and continue because I believe in the same values you believe in.
Yeah.
That's been the power of what we have done together.
Yes.
I came to that through years, maybe just like you, or through years of mistakes, of errors, of
Of
seeing it
course.
done differently. I mentioned earlier being fired at work because I was burned out and I wasn't at the courage of my conviction. So then I had to part ways because I wasn't doing any good to my team anymore because I wasn't doing good for myself. So I had to find my center again. I had to find my confidence. I had to really understand and realize that I am capable. I am valuable. I have a lot of good things to offer, and I just had to find the courage of that conviction and then being able just to start a new role without the baggage of the previous ones, without the people pleasing, without not feeling up to the task, just coming with the confidence that I will try to do my best every day and hopefully is enough. And it was. I mean, it is. And it is so much more than that because not only am I able to bring a company that was bruised and under really a lot of pressure because they weren't performing from 51% on time delivery to 91, but also I have now I found the confidence of trying to venture in this new business, the manufacturing coach, try to help others along this journey that I did myself to help a lot of leaders that I find, that I see, that I work with, that are very much stressed, very much in reaction, and they make their own lives and the lives of the ones around them not as good as they can be, and I'm sure the results also
Yeah,
suffer.
you're
So
going to do so much good work because if you don't remember what we said at the beginning with his bio, he's got the heart and the mind, the yoga united, right? And then he's got the great degree in engineering, a master's in leadership, and I'm just saying, y'all, he's going to do great stuff in manufacturing coaching. Well, we are at the bottom of the hour, so I know my people are listening. They're like, wait, we want to hear one more nugget from Luca. What's one piece of advice you'd give someone who wants to start creating their own vibrant culture in the workplace? What advice would you give?
I mean, the easiest one is hire Nicole because that's,
Well, that's me. Or invite us both to come in, right?
or invite us both. Yes,
Yeah.
we can definitely help. I go back to the heart and mind. Really find your center. Take responsibility for the energy you bring to work every day, for the energy you emanate. So that there is the right one, there is the positive one, there is the one that builds, not the one that tears down, and create a
Yes.
place where your employee feel heard and seen, that they feel that they can pursue their dream, they can go home and tell something to their spouses that made their day, that they're proud of. Cultivate the heart, yours and the ones and the one of the ones around you. And the other one is the mind. Provide structure.
Yes.
Create those core values. And honestly, Nicole, I heard about core values my whole career, and
Oh
I always
yeah.
thought, yeah,
Whatever.
it's yeah, right, whatever. It's like mission, the vision. Yeah, you can come up with some good words, but what do you do with them?
Yes.
I've been using them
That's
to
right. They're a
run the
tool.
business.
Yes.
To run the business. I really those are the Lehman test for, is this what we're up for? Is this what we're about? And that was so powerful. So when you create a structure that is the core values, the level 10, the traction, when everybody knows what the expectations are, everybody can spend again their energy into delivering work instead of worrying about the boundary conditions of their work. And it also makes it much easier to spot when something is out of sync. When there's a behavior that is not the one we want, it's so easy to spot because we define what we want.
That's
So
right.
those are the two things. I continue to advocate this heart and mind partnership, if you want.
Yeah.
That's what I will bring to our leaders today, something to reflect on.
Yeah, so don't miss what he said at the beginning of that last little bit. He's like, I'm working on my own heart and mind, and then I can help the others, right? So
Yes.
such a beautiful image. All right, Luca, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, they wanted to have a coaching session with you, they wanted to learn about leadership, how would they do that?
So I have, you can see here, I have on my side, I have a website that is called the Manufacturing Coach, as is manufacturing-coach.com. You can find my contacts, you can find the service I provide, which is leadership coaching. I do employee training, just to, again, help leaders like me, like myself, maybe navigate those difficult periods in their career and how to help them to find clarity for themselves and then reverberate that to the ones around them.
That's so good. All right, everybody. It's been another amazing episode of the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast, and we've had the amazing Luca Romano. I hope you had your pen out and you were taking notes, but if you didn't, just dial up Luca and look him up on his website. Thank you so much, Luca, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Nicole. Pleasure as usual.